to say this car has kind of helped you keep going under trying circumstances?
Definitely, definitely. 2020 was a really 2019 and 2020 were really rough years for me. My counselor said I needed a hobby, and when she said that, I knew exactly what the hobby was. And I think she was thinking knitting, crocheting. I said, no, I'm going to build a car, and she said, you're going to do what?
Hey, everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Talking About Cars podcast featuring me, Randy Cardoon, along with Hot Rod Bob Beck, because everybody has a car story. For this edition, we are here, starting off here, right in the Man Cave parking garage, right here at Talking About Cars, Two Tired Guys Studios here in Western Washington. While joining us from the great state of Colorado later on today, also the state of California, is our own Hot Rod Bob Beck. He is in the middle of a caravan to end all caravans. And there they are, ladies and gentlemen, right here on the podcast, Talking About Cars. I'm Randy Cardoon, that's Hot Rod Bob Beck. And Bob has a guest with us. Bob?
I've got Bill Harold with me. He is the captain of this little bitty caravan we're going to be doing back to Bowling Green, Kentucky. And I believe we're leaving here in Pasadena, California with, 130 cars?
Pretty close, about a 125.
125. Yep. And then we're going to, our first stop is going to be Vegas.
But,
yeah, you get the Z06.
I do.
And that's a brand new mid-engine Z06 Corvette. So if we can keep up with you, we'll be doing all right.
I think we were likely to have a pace setter keeping it under the speed limit.
That's no fun.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So what we're doing, to give you some heads up on this, folks, we're leaving Pasadena. We're going to join up with hundreds of thousands of Corvette enthusiasts, and we're driving to the Bowling Green, Kentucky Museum for the Corvettes. And it's going to be a nice short drive. What are we going to take? 6 days to get there?
We've got 7-day journey.
7 days.
And I might add a 7-day scenic journey with the exception of maybe the cornfields of Kansas as we pass through I-70. But everywhere you look, you will see Corvettes in Bowling Green.
And it'll be at the museum. This is the 30th anniversary of the Corvette Museum.
So you're telling me that you're going to be leaving Pasadena with 150 cars?
Yep.
Yeah, we're going to leave here with about 125. We're going to pick up about 35 in Henderson/Vegas tomorrow. And then we've got 3 other stops, one in Bryce Canyon City, then Glenwood Springs, Colorado, and then again in Denver, where we'll pick up about another 10 cars. So all in all, we'll have close to 160 Corvettes by the time we land in Bowling Green.
Now, that's just our section of the caravan,
yes,
which is Southwest Tour. How many others are there?
Yeah, so this is what's really amazing. They have 27 other caravans throughout the U.S. as well as Canada. And they will all be leaving on different dates depending upon how far they are or how close they are to Bowling Green, but we'll all be arriving in effectively the weekend leading up to Labor Day.
So it's going to be a city full of Corvettes. I don't know if they're going to let anybody else in. There won't be that much room, but we're going to be going there. And then the museum as well, which is world famous for its cavern.
The sinkhole.
Underneath the sinkhole. So this is the 30th anniversary of the museum, and it is going to be spectacular. Some lucky people had the opportunity to get the tour of the factory, which is just a couple of miles away. We weren't that lucky, but they were selling tickets or actually offering tickets to go through the factory, and you could see Corvettes actually being produced. The factory is what they call just in time. So as the vehicle is or what could be the vehicle is coming down the assembly line, the parts that are going on that are coming down in adjacent assembly lines.
So the what guys you're saying, it's timing. Timing.
Yes.
Timing. Okay.
Yeah. And if one side has different wheels than the other side, it's not a problem. It'll get fixed. But eventually. But yes. And then there's another section within this where they build the engines for these cars. All the engines for the Corvettes are hand built. There's no machining, no machines assembling the engines. And if you pay a little extra, you too can assemble your engine. Of course, you have to pay extra because the warranty costs on an assembled engine that you build tend to be a little bit higher.
You mean literally with your own hands build
Yes.
your own engine?
Yes, you have the person who normally builds them is there alongside you and guiding you as to what to do, and slapping you in the back of the head if you do something wrong. No, they don't do it. But that's what it is. Now, if you're also even more lucky, you can pick your vehicle up at the museum. They'll deliver
which I did.
You did, yeah, you did. So then you go in the museum, and the main entrance into the museum, inside the building where it's air conditioned all year round, you get to see your car on display on a street in the middle of the museum, and they'll do a complete walk around, train you on your vehicle, and then let you drive it out.
Wow.
Actually called Corvette Boulevard inside the museum.
Right. It's amazing. If you've ever had the chance to go to a museum, this is one to put on the list.
Now, is this the museum that had the issue with the internals and the floor fell out and the whole thing? This is the same one?
Exactly, that
Right,
one.
okay, got it.
And now they did this about 10 years ago when that happened. They restored the cars that could be fixed. The ones that couldn't are on display as they were taken out of the hole. Now, if you look, there's a window at a door, and you can look down and see the cavern below. You can't go in it. There's no tours of the cavern, but you can see it. They didn't even know that cavern was there until the floor sank.
So there were 8 cars that got gobbled up. 6 were beyond repair. 2 they did repair to factory original. And yes, they are on display. So
one of the ones that they restored was so significant. They had all the people that initially signed it when it came off the assembly line, which is one of the last vets that era. They had to find one person. She had retired. They brought her back down to the museum, made a big ceremony, and had her sign the car as well.
Wow.
So it was just, an amazing thing. The Corvette legacy is well documented there. The people that made history with Corvettes, they have their likeness around the inside of the main area. Now, for the history of the Corvette, for those of you who are not that fluent in Corvettes, they were introduced in 1953. The introduction to the public was at the Waldorf Astoria in New York, and there were 3 models on display. A Roadster, which came to fruition, a fastback, they actually called the Corvair, and a station wagon they called the Nomad. Now, those 2 didn't come about under the Corvette chassis or on the Corvette chassis, but they are historic. Now, Corvette has been in production since 1953, but there's one year they missed. 1983. There were no publicly sold Corvettes. There are 2 still in existence, I believe, and one of them is on display at the museum. And I've had 2 C4s. The only thing I can tell that's different is on the 83 that never got sold, smaller wheels and tires. Everything else seems to be the same as the 1984 C4. In 85, they went to 2-port injection, a little bit more horsepower. But they're, it's the car that I really like, the C4s. They're maligned by a lot because, they're not as good as a C5 and above, but they were a world better than the C3 they replaced. But one thing, no matter how far the car can go on a gallon of gas, the bladder does not. So we'll be stopping more frequently for bladder stops than we will be for gas, but, might as well do it at the same time.
Yeah, I'd imagine if you wanted to keep your place in line, people are going to be, it's going to be like a pit stop all the way from your location to your destination.
You'll be amazed how quickly they can refuel.
This car is from Richland, Washington, Richland was built as part of the Manhattan Project. And this car, when it was, the first owner actually lived in Richland and most likely worked at the Hanford Works. This car was found. I found the car in Pasco, Washington, which is on the east side, which is a town near Richland, sitting in an alleyway. And my friend Mike, who I'd met in college, lived over in the Western Washington. But I told him about the 60 Plymouth 2-door wagon that I'd found, that I had never even heard of a 60 Plymouth 2-door wagon, and neither had he. And so,
was he a Mopar guy to begin with, or did
Total Mopar guy. Backstory is we met in college because he had a picture of a Superbird on his dorm room wall, and I had a picture of a Superbird on my dorm room wall. And someone came up to me one time and said, "You know, my roommate's got one of those goofy-looking cars on his wall too." And so that was like the first quarter of college. We met.
And a friendship was born.
Friendship was born, and we've been doing Mopars together ever since then. And so this was after graduation. I moved back to my hometown, found the car, told him about it, and so he came over. Basically, he came over. The guy asked too much money for it. It's like $500, which in those days this was like a $100 car, but he bought it anyway. It was a slant six, 3-speed on the tree, 0 option car, total fleet car. We didn't have the history on it except for the original owner's address. He found that in some paperwork somewhere. But
does that mean you found the Atomic Energy Commission's address, or?
So the Atomic Energy Commission was added on as a tribute to the car's past, because it is from, if myself growing up in Richland, which is the town that was built for the Hanford area, there were a ton of faded out old station wagons running around town with Atomic Energy Commission painted on them. This car has the original paint on it. It was out in the Eastern Washington sun for many years. But it is no different than any other AEC cars that were out there, with the exception of this one has a 440 and a 4-speed in it, because it originally had a slant 6 3-speed, and he completely fabricated a new front chassis under it, put in a Volare front end with a police sway bar. It's got a 440 and a 4-speed and I think a 323 sure gripper end in it. He's preserved a lot of the car's original stuff where it made sense. But he's added some stuff to it, and he's played around to it. I don't know, did you try and read Plymouth off the hood? Plymouth.
Holy moly. Very good. Who came up with that?
That's Mike's just subtle sense of humor, and he did that because the letters are only held on by one stud, and he had an extra set of letters and was being bored and creative one day, and it took me, I see this car all the time, and it took me 10 years before he pointed it out that I'd noticed that he had done it. It's a nice little subtle touch.
I like that. That's actually very good.
So.
Okay, very good. So how many of these station wagons were made? Any idea?
Yes, they made 5,500 of them. And seeing that they were made to be handyman's cars, as this one, they were mostly all fleet vehicles. They had a very short lifespan, and as much as I love Mopars, the 1960 Plymouth full size is one of those designs that you either love or hate, and I think the scale is more on the hate end of things. And they weren't particularly popular, and so a lot of them just probably got junked out because of their styling by the time 1965 came around.
Well, and all the 57 to 61s had rust problems. That was a big deal for Plymouth back in the day.
Exactly. The biodegradable, the forward-lit cars were very biodegradable, and that's one thing that makes this one really special, is the fact that it was sold new in arid Eastern Washington in the desert. The plastic all got beaten up by the sun, but it has all the original sheet metal in it. It's zero rust, and since he moved it to how many years, 1988 has been quite a few, he's stored it indoors ever since.
Did he ever track down original owners? I know a lot of these cars, the Chrysler records don't go back that far. So did he try? Any idea where this thing came from originally?
Yeah, well, and he had some paperwork in the glove box that had the original owner's address, which was at that time, because it was the original owner and the original place where this car sat was in 10 years later is when my dad's house was built. Because at the time, because the Department of Defense owned Richland as part of the Manhattan Project and the Cold War, et cetera, they, as more workers were needed to work in the nuclear plants, they would move the northern border of Richland and inch it forwards. And this guy sat at, when this car was new, it sat literally at the north end of Richland, across the street. There was nothing but sagebrush between it and the reactors. And then by the time 10 years later, my folks' house was built a block further north, and that's about the time I showed up in town. So this car has some very the stencil was added to it, but it has you can be well assured that the person that drove this every day to work when it was a new car was driving up to the Hanford area. I don't know if this will go way back, but I don't know if anybody here ever saw Auto Album by Tad Burness, who used to be a syndicated artist in newspapers, and would always have like a 3x5 drawing of a auto. Mike wrote him one time looking for information on it, and Tad Burness was very excited about it and asked for a picture of the car, and Mike has at home a picture in the auto album that Tad Burness drew of this car that was in newspapers all over the country. So it's one of those cult things. It's gotten its fair share of exposure just because of the uniqueness of it.
So I originally bought the car in 1988 after my daughter passed away. She was 3 months old. She died of an infantile form of ALS. And it was right at the time that Guns N' Roses came out with Sweet Child O' Mine. So if you notice, the license plate is Sweet Cuda. It's in memory of Heather Renee. And in 1990, after the car had been painted, her father and I split up, and he got the car. Years and years and years went by, and in late 2020, I happened to run into him at Cruise Enumclaw and asked him about the car, and he mentioned the fact that he had sold it to his brother 3 years prior. I said, "Is it put back together?" And he said, "No, never did anything to it." So got a hold of his brother and asked if he would be interested in selling it, and he said no, he was going to restore it for his girls. And I said, "I completely understand, but if you ever change your mind, please let me know. The car means a lot to me." And so on December 5th, 2020, I purchased the car back from him and went to my neighbor, who is an avid Mopar restorer and fan, and said, "Hey, who do you know that could help me put this car and millions of pieces that I don't even know if they go with this car back together?" So yes, after a few days, he said, "I would love to help you with it. I've always wanted to build an e-body and never had an opportunity." So over the next almost 4 years, with a little bit of cash and a whole lot of time, Mark Connor put the car back together, and this today is its first time out. It's got 110 miles on it, and this is only my third time driving it. Her name is Faith. Due to my faith and belief in the dear Lord, I was never going to give up on someday having this car back.
So you were talking about how this reminds you, or at least it's prompted by the passing of your daughter. What about it makes you think of her?
The color. She was a little girl. She was a beautiful little girl, and just the color, and then the Sweet Child O' Mine and the license plate Sweet Cuda, which her father had let go and I was able to get back. So I just feel like it was all meant to be.
How long did it take to get done? I mean, it was in his garage for a while, I understand.
3.5, almost 4 years. Through COVID and parts delays and multiple parts that would arrive and weren't right, and just one thing after another. I'm thankful for his patience, and there's nothing like giving somebody a 1,000-piece puzzle, but giving them 5,000 pieces that don't go to that puzzle, and I just kept apologizing.
Tell me, this is the first time you've driven it or driven it out?
This is its first time farther than like 5 miles from home. We've been working out the bugs over the past few weeks, I've driven it 3 times and Mark's driven it countless times.
Talk about, did you get to drive it here today?
Yes, I did.
Talk about that whole experience, and let's go back to last night when you knew you're going to be driving it to its first car show. Is it safe to say there might have been some butterflies?
Oh yeah, some serious anxiety, I would say, almost a panic attack. Yeah, I just kept telling Mark, we're just going to put it in a bubble and keep it there. No one's going to drive it, touch it. And he said, no, that's not why we built it. We're going to take it out. And then last night when we had that horrific thunder and lightning storm, I'm like, okay, God's saying we can't take the car today. I knew it.
And then you woke up this morning.
Oh, the sun was out and he said the roads were dry. And I'm like, really?
Yeah, I see that. Well, if your daughter, I know she was really young. How old was she when she passed?
3 months. 3 months of a very rare, it's an infantile form of ALS. At the time, they didn't even have a name for it. Now it's called SMA, spinal muscular atrophy.
Is it safe to say this car has kind of helped you keep going under trying circumstances?
Definitely. 2020 was 2019 and 2020 were really rough years for me. My counselor said I needed a hobby, and when she said that, I knew exactly what the hobby was, and I think she was thinking knitting, crocheting, I said, no, I'm going to build a car, and she said, you're going to do what?
Yeah, we're an AMC family, been an AMC family our entire life, and what we have is our 1968 Rebel SST. It's one of 9,873 built in 1968. And kind of the backstory on this is I built my first engine for one when I was 9 years old with my dad, and that really turned us on to my AMC passion, and then my wife has grown to love them as well. And we've had this car for 13 years, and it sat in a field for 32 years prior. We paid $1,500 delivered to our door from Pasco, Eastern Washington.
Mount St. Helens ash in the glove box and old pay stubs from the late 70s from the owners that had it before, and it was really cool.
We have lots of great memories with the car, including long road trips, but especially with the kids growing up, working on it, pictures in our book of them sanding the coil springs and little parts and being part of the whole journey. Trips to Dairy Queen in the evenings to get ice cream when they were little, and so it's part of the family, and we absolutely love it.
So your kids are actually car kids?
Yes, yeah, they're all adults now, which is crazy to believe as well too, but yeah, they're all car
You
kids.
guys don't look old enough to have kids who are adults.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
you.
Yeah, 3 adult children, 22, 21, and 18.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a little surprising.
Yeah, I grew up around AMCs. My dad loved them and loves them still. And when I was a young kid, we had a 68 Rebel that we grew up in. And it was 4 different colors inside and out. And at 9 years old, I helped my dad build my first engine for it. And I think at that point in time, I really had that passion for the brand, but also because it was so different than anything else that you would find anywhere. It was the hunt for the part. You go to a place and this guy says, oh, I know a guy that knows a guy, and you're tracking them down to try to find parts. And so to me, it was that journey. It is still the case.
Yeah.
And so rather than being able to buy everything right away, which is great out of a catalog or online, it's the thrill of the hunt.
Tell me about the cars he had that were American Motors.
My dad had 3 Rebels. We had a 67 Rebel, a 68 Rebel, and then we now have a 67 Rebel convertible up at his place. We've had numerous parts cars over the years as you buy them and to build a project. But we've been around it forever. We have 7 total between us, and always looking for more.
Seven. Well, tell me what's 7?
Yes, we have our 68 Rebel. We have our 1969 Rambler Scrambler, 1970 Rebel Machine, 1969 AMX, 1967 Rebel Convertible, 1967 Rebel Station Wagon, and a 1969 Rambler American.
Wow. So what's left? Is there anything else on your I need that American Motors car on my list? What are you waiting to get?
A 65 Marlin.
65
Marlin, yeah. It's got the fastback. It looks like a 68 Charger, but better because it was first.
Okay. Yeah. I like that. So anything else?
No, I don't know. I'm always looking, but I would love to have a humpy fender Javelin, so 71 to 74 at some point in time, but the Marlin would come first.
So were you an AMC person, or by osmosis, by having a husband who's AMC crazy, kind of picked it up? What were you beforehand?
I was a car person. I ran auto parts stores for a long time. Thank the Lord that's behind me now. I just wasn't super partial to any particular make. And then, he showed up with this Rebel on a trailer and he's like, look at it, honey. And I'm like, yeah, that's something. I mean, if you see the picture of what it looked like when we got it, it was not this. So
you, of course, realized this has to be love.
Yeah, absolutely, right away. I mean, it was a match made in heaven. Beautiful gal that loves hot rods. I mean, how can it get any better, right?
And that's what happened at Sunbust. And again, a lot of Mopars, a lot of interesting stories. And of course, we'll have more stories along those lines coming up here in the weeks to come. Hey, Hot Rod Bob is back with us. This time.
It looks like about a 1958 Corvette.
Mhm.
In fact, It's not. It's a 5th-generation Corvette that's been rebodied to look like an early Corvette. And it has done spectacular. It is great. We're up here in Colorado right now. We caravanned out, as you know, we started in Pasadena, California, took the canyons over, ended up in Las Vegas. So we went to the Ron Fellows Driving School, 150 Corvettes cruising the course. It was amazing. It was really fun. So we did that. Then we took off and headed to Las Vegas. We got to Las Vegas. We all checked into our hotels and we got ready to leave the following morning. We ended up in Utah. Beautiful. Bryce Canyon.
Oh,
That
yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
It was just amazing. It was gorgeous. And I've sent a couple of stills to you of Bryce Canyon, the area that we drove through. It was just amazing. The whole trip so far, other than Arizona, sorry guys in Arizona, the scenery in Arizona just is dirt, sun, hot. No, we ended up, once we get Utah, everything changed. It was just beautiful. Going to Bryce Canyon, the last 30, 40 miles, amazing, spectacular scenery, rock formations, trees. We even saw deer alongside the road. And she made me put her back in the car later on. But it's,
Hello.
yeah,
Hello.
actually, the four-legged kind
You
were
are
there.
correct, sir.
The four-legged kind were there, and it was
Yes.
interesting. But we caravanned. We tried to keep together as many groups as we could. Our club went with 19 cars out of Ventura, California. We caught up with and stayed with another group of about 40 cars. We all stayed in line. We all stayed at legal speeds, and we all cruised together. You should have seen the faces on the cars driving by, the people turning their heads, people holding their phones out of the car to take pictures of the car.
Yeah.
And then when we'd stop at a rest stop, it was like a car show because everyone was there, and we stayed in formation. We stayed together. We had a lead person. We kept in touch with, we have handheld radios. And when those didn't work, cell phones did pretty good. So we did that, and it was just great. This morning, we left Bryce Canyon and came up here to Colorado, and it is just fantastic. It's beautiful. The weather in Bryce Canyon was 51 degrees. Here, we're about high 60s right now.
Mhm.
And it's summertime, guys, and this is beautiful. Another Corvette driving in. I mean, the number of Corvettes here. Now, one thing we did notice, so you got the retro car behind us. That kind of represents the first generation of Corvettes.
Right.
But the average car, the oldest car here, is probably late 1990s. No early Corvettes are really cruising with us. And even ours is a 2003. And we have one of the older cars.
Well, yeah,
But
but
the-
isn't that understandable considering the old cars are old? You're not going to see a 50s, probably an early 60s or mid 60s Corvette driving
No.
along there unless they've had some serious improvements to the engine and drivability.
Exactly. Yeah, when we're real happy with ours. We've got a 6-speed 2003 anniversary edition Corvette Coupe. We're averaging 32 miles per gallon. And that includes the mountain roads and the freeways where we were traveling at legal speeds of 80 miles an hour in Utah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They, in the wide open spaces, you could travel. They have 80-mile-an-hour speed signs. Yeah,
Yep,
absolutely.
that's supposed to
I'll
speed
vouch
limit.
for that.
Yeah, once we got to Colorado, it slowed down to 75. And,
So, Yeah.
so we were cruising along, but 6th gear, cruising along, 32.2 miles per gallon when I pulled into the hotel.
well done. Well
So, you know,
done.
Everyone complains about, oh, you got this high performance V8 engine. Yeah. No, guys, it gets better fuel mileage than my 4-cylinder HHR,
Mhm.
but that's okay.
Well, that sounds like so much fun, and envious of you being able to do that just with so many similar cars and people of similar interests, and that's going to be so much fun. I'm sure our coming episodes, Bob will give us little highlights of things that are going on and things that are happening. And again, take a look at that. Not a 58 Corvette. That is pretty impressive. And again, that is something that, and of course, Corvettes everywhere, far as the eye can see. And that is something that's going to be a lot of fun for you guys. Drive careful. And of course, hey, don't forget, everybody, we hope to hear from you all in our next episode. Let us know what you're thinking about what we're doing right now. And of course, Bob's going to check back in our next episode and let us know how the trip went. Well, until next time, that right there is Hot Rod Bob in Colorado, lucky guy. And I'm in our Washington State studios. I'm Randy Cardoon. We'll see you next time as we start talking about cars. So long, everybody.